Of the amazing wonders of the ancient world, everyone's heard of the incredible Nazca Lines of Peru, but did you know that there are a huge number of mysterious geoglyphs in the United States too? In the Colorado Desert of the American Southwest and Northwest Mexico, there are more than 300 large geoglyphs carved throughout the desert landscape. This is the single greatest concentration of geoglyphs in all of North America. Some sources say there are even as many as 600 of them. The Blythe Intaglios in California are the largest and most famous of them all, and are the best examples of geoglyphs in the United States. They consist of 3 human figures, 2 four-legged animals that are most likely mountain lions, and a spiral-shaped glyph that probably symbolizes a coiled snake. Most people have never even heard of these ancient treasures, and they were hidden for centuries, known only by local Native American tribes, until 1932 when a pilot named George Palmer saw these huge symbols while flying over them. His finding led to official surveys of the area, and when National Geographic published an article about the Intaglios in 1952, the site quickly grew in popularity. They remain one of the unsolved mysteries of modern archaeology, as nobody knows decisively who made them, exactly when, or why, and none of the local Native American tribes have claimed to have built them. The human figures were possibly created to represent Mastamho, or Kumastamo, the creator of the earth and all life, in common southwestern Native American cosmology, and the animal figures might represent Hatakuila, a mythic mountain lion who also helped in the creation. The glyphs are best seen from the sky, which their creators never would have been able to do, so it begs the question, who exactly were they made for?
In ancient times, these were likely sites for ritual offerings, sacred dances, and ceremonies. The artists scraped away a shallow layer of the darker surface soil and gravel, revealing the lighter colored soil underneath and outlining the figures with darker and more pronounced edges. Of the hundreds of other geoglyphs in the nearby region, many of them are within a short distance of the Colorado River, which runs right through the Colorado Desert, marking the border between California and Arizona, and was the main lifeline of ancient cultures that lived here for thousands of years. This map shows some of the nearby intaglios in the region, many of which are believed to portray mythic characters or events from ancient cosmologies and origin stories. The most well-known include the Barstow tortoise, which may be an astronomical marker, the Baus fisherman, that may depict the creator god Kumastamho driving his spear into the earth to create the Colorado River, the Fort Mojave twins, which are thought to symbolize good and evil, the Mule Canyon geoglyphs, the quartzite figures, the Ripley intaglios, which sit directly above the Colorado River, the 156-foot or 47.5 meter long rattlesnake, the Topak maze, which covers about 10 acres, the Yuha geoglyphs, and the fertility god of the Southwest, Kokopelli. Some of the enormous glyphs are particularly intriguing. For instance, the arrow at the quartzite figures remarkably points directly at the Baus fisherman, which is 12.5 miles or 20 kilometers away. The origins of some of these glyphs are controversial, and there's evidence to suggest that they may have been created quite recently. For example, the Kokopelli glyph displays a more modern, cartoon-like style, which is in stark contrast to the way that it was depicted in ancient rock art. Also, when you go back in time on Google Earth, the glyph appears between 1994 and 1996, although some people who think that the glyph is much older debate this, due to the low resolution of the satellite photos back then. It's also debated whether the Topak maze was a sacred site created by the ancient Mojave tribe, or if it was created during the 1880s when railroad workers scraped rows of gravel to be collected as construction material.
Some researchers hypothesized that all these intaglios were stopping points on a pilgrimage path. It's pretty amazing to ponder what life would have been like for the people back then and what intentions and significance they were imbuing into these symbols. 13 radiocarbon dates were acquired from the Blythe Intaglios in 1995 that gave dates ranging from 900 BCE to 1200 CE, so they could be as old as almost 3,000 years or as young as about 800 years, although some people speculate that they could be as much as 10,000 years old, but it seems there's no evidence to support this. The town of Blythe, California sits between Los Angeles and Phoenix, and its famous intaglios are about a 20-minute drive north of the town. Our scenic journey through the desert landscape coming from Arizona was beautiful, with fantastic views of the mountains all around us. The final stretch of dirt road is quite a bumpy drive, but it wasn't so bad. Our Toyota Corolla made it up there just fine. Upon arrival, it's a several-minute walk to get to the geoglyphs, which are free of cost to visit. This first one we visited is the second largest anthropomorphic human figure, which is 105 feet or 32 meters tall. It's difficult to really grasp how big it is from the ground, but walking all the way around it gave us a better idea of just how large it really is. Once we launched our drone, we really got the full scope of the magnitude of this huge glyph. It sits up on a plateau above a dried creek bed, with fantastic views of the mountains behind it. It's pretty amazing to see this huge solitary being in this beautiful desert, sandwiched between these mountains and the Colorado River about a mile away. We were there during a magnificent sunset that just got more and more beautiful as it drew out, filling the desert with a majestic glow.
The next glyphs are about a third of a mile away, which was a short drive and a couple-minute walk. Here we found a human figure that's 102 feet or 31 meters tall, with an arm span of 65 feet or about 20 meters. Again, from the ground, it's difficult to get a grasp of just how large these glyphs are. Nearby is a four-legged animal glyph, which most likely depicts a mountain lion. It's 54 feet or 16.5 meters long from head to tail, and just below it is a spiral symbol which might symbolize a coiled serpent. The sign at the site poses the question that maybe the mountain lion and the snake are engaged in a battle, but nobody really knows. What inspired their creators to make such large glyphs that are only fully visible from the sky? We had so many questions flowing through our minds as we soaked in the beauty of this amazing place. The human figure is clearly a man, as he has a phallus between his legs. And if these two animals are battling, we wonder if it's maybe a part of an origin story in an ancient cosmology. The modern fences were built in 1974 to protect them from vandalism and damage, as many people had previously driven their vehicles directly over the glyphs, sadly scarring them forever. You can clearly see the many tire tracks that people have left behind all over the place, as well as other symbols and shapes that people have carved into the surrounding landscape as well. It's pretty disgusting that anyone would ever vandalize ancient sites that had previously sat in their pristine settings for hundreds or even thousands of years. Apparently, some of these tracks were also left by military tanks from when the US Army trained in this desert during World War II.
The damage of historical sites is a real issue, and unfortunately, we even found broken glass directly on top of the geoglyphs themselves. I guess some people think it's acceptable to smash beer bottles on top of rare ancient relics. We'll never understand these disrespectful people that don't know how to visit ancient sites like this in reverence. But it didn't stop us from enjoying being in the presence of this special place, with the beautiful essence of the sunset illuminating the desert all around us. Photos from back in the day show the glyphs in their more pristine environment, before the tire tracks and rigid fences came along, and even though they're not exactly pretty, the fences are unfortunately necessary in this modern age to protect the glyphs from further damage. A local Chimehuevi tribal elder named Alfredo Figueroa has fought for decades to protect them in the surrounding desert landscape, working with tribal coalitions to stop the construction of a nuclear power plant and a nuclear waste dump, and more recently to prevent the building of large-scale solar power projects in the nearby desert. Across the ravine to the south, there's another site with two more figures, which we didn't have time to go see because it was getting late in the day and we wanted to go see the nearby Kokopelli geoglyph. That site contains the largest human figure, at 171 feet or 52 meters tall, and another four-legged animal also thought to be a mountain lion that's more than 50 feet or 15 meters long. As the beautiful sunset kept revealing more layers of pinks and oranges, we said farewell to these ancient desert gems and drove the 30-minute drive over to see Kokopelli. It's a couple-minute walk through the desert to get there, and when you arrive, it's hard to recognize the geoglyph before you're practically walking right on top of it. There's no fence surrounding it and no signs here, as this is most likely not an ancient site, but it's still a pretty awesome place to go visit. This glyph is also huge, more than 200 feet or 61 meters in length, and it's hard to get a good perspective of it while standing on the ground. We spent some time walking around it, trying to trace out its shape. We wanted to fly our drone here, but it's directly next to the Blythe airport and it's impossible to get clearance to fly a drone there.
This hunched-over flute-playing deity has been revered in the American Southwest for more than 1,000 years. Next to him is another set of glyphs, which include some V-shaped symbols, 11 parallel lines, a large footprint, and the Aztec spirit Tzitzimito, who guides souls into the afterlife. As the sun fell behind the horizon, summer lightning storms were brewing in the distance, so we took our cue and hit the road, heading to Joshua Tree to hunt down more petroglyphs. You can learn more about that adventure in this video popping up in the top right corner, and the link is down below. It wasn't so hot when we visited on a cloudy afternoon in July, but it gets scorching hot here, so if you ever want to visit in the summertime, be ready for the heat. Even later that night, while we were driving, it was 109 degrees Fahrenheit, which is almost 43 degrees Celsius. We definitely recommend that you go visit these intaglios if you're ever in the area, as these are some of the finest desert geoglyphs in North America. Visiting ancient sites, feeling their profound presence, and envisioning what life was like in an entirely different age of the world always fills us with deep wonder and inspiration. We hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please remember to hit the like button down below, and leave us a comment and let us know if you've been to the Blythe Intaglios and what you think of these amazing geoglyphs. Also, if you're feeling called to support us on Patreon, or perhaps even tipping us in Bitcoin, we totally appreciate your support, and it really helps us to continue to make content like this. The links are down in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers!